I import vinyl plank flooring for a living, and almost every week I watch buyers make the same 6 mistakes that cost them hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. And the worst part, you don't find out until the floor is already down. So before you spend a dime, let me walk you through all 6, starting with the one that costs the most. Aloha, my name is Boris Razin. I'm the owner of Enroro brand. We import vinyl plank flooring, wall paneling, baseboards, and a lot of other construction materials from Asia, Vietnam, China, Korea to Hawaii, and we ship it all across the United States and we sell it here in Hawaii. Also, I own Best Flooring in Honolulu. It's a chain of flooring stores here on the island of Oahu. Also, I own a third company, which is Flooring Contractor Hawaii, where we install different types of flooring in residential homes and commercial spaces. The most common way people waste money when buying and installing vinyl plank flooring, it's by not following the installation manual. The number one reason from my experience for the vinyl plank flooring to fail in the last 5 years is that people did not read in the installation manual that vinyl plank flooring installed over concrete requires moisture barrier before putting it down on the concrete subfloor. Today we're going to discuss 6 mistakes that people do most often. First of all, selecting the wrong core type, WPC versus SPC. Second, mistakes people do with underlayment, when they don't put underlayment or they put too much underlayment. Third, buying flooring just based on the price and ignoring wear layer and other important things that are related to vinyl plank flooring. Fourth, it's a myth that says that vinyl plank flooring is 100% waterproof no matter what you do with it. Mistake number 5, it's improperly selecting when you need to use click-in vinyl plank flooring versus when you need to use the glue-down vinyl plank flooring. And mistake number 6, it's related to not using transitions or not using baseboards or not following acclimation or other installation manual requirements. So let's start from mistake number 1. It's when people are buying vinyl plank flooring just by looking on the price. So they see vinyl plank flooring that costs like $5 per square foot, $4, and then they see like one that costs 99 cents and they're like, okay, so that's the best price, that's the one I'm gonna buy because just it's cheaper and this way I'm gonna save money. So it's a huge mistake because apart from price, you want your flooring to last for some time. Unless of course you're just buying to sell it next day and forget about this and you don't care what's gonna happen next. So before buying vinyl plank flooring, you need to learn a couple of things about vinyl plank flooring. At least one thing that I would take a look on, number 1, would be the wear layer. So that's the easiest one to check because if you take a look on the box, you're going to see how much wear layer does the vinyl plank flooring has. So what is a wear layer? Wear layer, that's a top transparent layer. It's very thin that protects your print, what you see on the plank, from scratches, stains, etc., etc. So the minimum one that you want is going to be 12 mil. However, preferably you want to go 20. I personally don't think there is a reason for a residential job to go over 20. I think it's already an overkill because I've never seen it failed in the residential environment. But make sure you check the wear layer before you buy the flooring. Also, if you see a flooring that's on clearance, always check why this flooring is on clearance. Because a lot of the times, especially if we're talking about big box stores, the flooring can go on clearance because there is an issue with the flooring. Maybe there is some kind of malfunction, or maybe there is a misprint on the whole batch. So make sure to double check why this flooring went on clearance. So let's go a little bit more into details. So this is vinyl plank flooring. And what you see here has nothing to do with the wood. Basically, it's a print on a high resolution printer that imitates look of the wood. And if we just glue this print on the top of the vinyl, as soon as you step on it, there's going to be a mark. Like imagine that you have something that you printed on your printer, then you take it with your hands and you have a mark there. So to avoid this, we have a top transparent layer that protects this print from any kind of damage, water spills, etc., etc. This is what's called wear layer. The wear layer is very thin. So the wear layer that I recommend is 20 MIL. So MIL does not equal to millimeters. MIL, it's a separate metrics. So 20 MIL equals 0.5 millimeters. So as you can understand, it's a very thin layer. It's really hard to see it even like when you cut plank from the side. However, you must look on the box and check what number of MIL does your vinyl plank flooring has. So, and my recommendation is to go with 20 MIL. So if you're doing a project and you're planning to sell it as soon as you're done, you can go with 6 or 12, just because I guess you don't care if you don't care. But if you do care, and let's say you have a rental or that's your own home, I would go at least 12 MIL. However, I suggest to go 20. You can go 30, you can go 40. Again, in my personal opinion, that's an overkill and you're just overpaying for the functionality that you're not gonna ever use. Now let's move to mistake number 2. It's selecting the right core for your flooring project. Currently on the market, there is 2 major cores for the vinyl plank flooring. It's SPC, which stands for Stone Polymer Core, and WPC, which stands for Wood Polymer Core. What's the difference? WPC is going to be lighter, but it's not going to be as dense as SPC. SPC is going to be heavier, but it's going to be more denser. So what does it mean in real life situation? So WPC is going to feel a little bit softer underfoot when you walk on it. However, it's easier to damage WPC. And also, in most cases, WPC is going to be a little bit thicker than SPC. So just an idea, WPC can be 6, 7, 10, 12 millimeters, where SPC, because it's denser, because it's heavier, it's going to be more sustainable to damage. However, it's going to be heavier, and also it's going to be harder to damage. There is no, in my personal opinion, real difference where you should use or shouldn't use WPC versus SPC. So if properly installed, properly maintained and used, you can use both throughout the house. However, based on the specs that we just discussed, so weight, in my personal opinion, putting WPC on the second floor is better, just because this way you're putting less weight on the wooden studs that you have on the second floor, to where SPC, it's better to put on the ground floor on the concrete, because concrete doesn't care how much your floor weighs compared to second floor, which does. Also, since the WPC is a little bit thicker, if the subfloor has a little bit of play, like you have with this wooden subfloor, it's going to help a little bit more than compared to SPC, which is going to be thinner but more rigid. I don't think that anything can go wrong if you put like WPC versus SPC. It's just, in general, WPC was an older core that was used before SPC came on the market, because SPC came as a replacement, as a like more durable, more stable core. However, in the recent years, I see a comeback of WPC when a lot of factories start to manufacture WPC core as well, making it thicker, newer. So it's a very complex question with no simple answer. If you ask my personal opinion, I've done jobs with SPC, I've done jobs with WPC. If it's installed properly, nothing's gonna happen, and just follow the installation manual. Now let's talk about mistake number 3. It's misusing underlayment, or cushion pad that you have attached or not attached to your flooring. So nowadays, most of the flooring is gonna come with attached underlayment. The reason is because contractors and homeowners just prefer to buy it when the underlayment is attached, because it saves time when you install flooring and you do need to buy separate underlayment, so there's kinda less mistakes involved in the process. However, if you buy a flooring that does not have attached underlayment, make sure to read the installation manual and see if it requires underlayment, because from my experience, almost every installation manual that I've read for the flooring that does not have attached underlayment, it does require underlayment. So you need to buy it separately in a box, in a roll, install it first, and then put vinyl planks on the top. So how does underlayment looks like? Here's a plank of vinyl plank flooring, and this single back, like a foam, this is underlayment. So what does it do? It gives a little bit of cushion when you walk on the floor. Minor, but you can feel it, especially if you have sensitive knees and legs, etc. And most importantly, it first of all takes care of small imperfections of the subfloor, but it doesn't mean that you don't need to do leveling. You must do leveling before you install this type of flooring. And most importantly, it creates a soundproof effect. So let's say if you don't have underlayment, you put vinyl plank flooring on the second floor, you're gonna hear every step of people walking there. However, when you have underlayment on the back, it's gonna absorb the sound that's created when you walk on the flooring. One of the mistakes that I see people do all the time, it's when they have vinyl plank flooring that has attached underlayment, like the one I just showed you a second ago, and then they put additional underlayment. In their mind, they're like, okay, so if underlayment takes care of small imperfections and also if it creates sound dampening effect, if I'm gonna put a second layer of underlayment, especially a thick one, then it's gonna even make it better. Unfortunately, this is a huge mistake. So when factories are manufacturing this product, they already attached maximum allowed underlayment to the plank, especially if you have the one that's attached. So putting additional underlayment, it's a disaster. So don't do this. The reason is because when you put additional underlayment under already attached underlayment, what happens is you shorten the lifespan of your flooring because it becomes too soft. And since most of clicking vinyl plank flooring has locks, when you step on those locks, it starts to flex. And over time, this kills the lock. So basically, the underlayment that's already attached, it's designed to minimize this friction. When you put additional underlayment, you increase how far this goes when you walk on it. And this breaks the lock. So never, unless it's directly written in the installation manual, and I say again, never use additional underlayment under flooring that already has attached underlayment. Unless, again, it is approved in the installation manual and it says directly that, yes, you can do that. In Hawaii, there is a different thing where you're forced to put an additional underlayment, even when you don't want to do it. When does this happen? When you have a HOA that has a specific requirement for a certain brand of underlayment, or certain IIC numbers for the underlayment. In this case, you're kind of between two fires. Installation manual tells you don't put second underlayment, and HOA tells you if you don't put underlayment, additional one, we're not going to allow you to install this flooring. And yes, you're forced to break the warranty on your flooring, and you're forced to put underlayment in order to meet the HOA requirements. So I can't tell you do this, but unfortunately that's the only thing you can actually do to follow basically what your HOA requires. One interesting thing to know about the underlayments, so each underlayment has their own specs. So some underlayment will sound better, some worse. In order to understand how good this underlayment is for the sound dampening, you need to open specifications for this underlayment or ask a seller, for example, like us, and ask them, hey, so what's the IIC number and the STC number? The higher the number, the better sound dampening the underlayment offers. So in case if you install vinyl plank flooring with attached underlayment, make sure to read the installation manual and see if it's allowed second underlayment. Most will not allow you, so I'm just a heads up. And also make sure to remember that attached underlayment, or even if you have it in rows, does not replace moisture barrier, which means even if you have attached underlayment to the plank, you still need to put moisture barrier. Keep that part in mind. Now let's talk about myth or mistake number 4, which is vinyl plank flooring is completely waterproof. So it's true and it's not in the same time. So in which part is it true? If we take a piece of vinyl plank flooring, like cut a piece or just take a full plank, and we throw it in a bathtub or like in a bucket of water and leave it there for, I don't know, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So after you take it out from the water, nothing is going to happen to your vinyl plank flooring. That's true, basically. The reason is because vinyl plank flooring is made from plastic, and plastic does not react to water. However, this does not mean that if you have a full-scale flood, you can just leave flooring as is and nothing is going to happen to it. If you have a flood, you need to remove your planks, dry everything out underneath, and then you can put those planks back. Because if you don't do this, you're going to have mold and you can have other problems. Second part, There is an assumption that if vinyl plank flooring is 100% waterproof and you put it on a concrete that emits moisture, nothing is going to happen to vinyl plank flooring. Unfortunately, this is not true. So you need to put moisture barrier before putting vinyl plank flooring on the concrete, because when concrete emits moisture, it creates not only a collaboration between plastic and water, which it does not, but also it creates a pressure, like a physical pressure, like you're pushing, and it breaks the plank. So when you put vinyl plank flooring, you must put moisture barrier. Even though the vinyl plank flooring is waterproof, you still need to use moisture barrier. So another thing is, you don't need to mix waterproof plank with waterproof flooring. It's two completely different things. So waterproof plank, this means that if you take a plank, you throw it in a bucket of water, nothing happens to it. And most vinyl plank flooring is gonna be waterproof, but the plank itself. Waterproof floor means that you take a bucket of water, you pour it on the floor, and nothing happens. That's not the case, because most vinyl plank flooring, there are exceptions. There's like separate types of flooring that there are exceptions. But if you pour a bucket of water on the flooring and you leave it like this, what's going to happen is your flooring, especially if it comes in planks, it has seams, and water is going to slowly seep through those seams. In a normal environment, like when you spill, like, you know, like a little bit, you walk barefoot after the shower on the floor, a little bit is going to seep through, but then it's going to evaporate, nothing's going to happen. But if the amount of water is big, it's not going to evaporate. So it's going to create problems, or you're going to damage the floor, or you're going to get mold. So don't mix waterproof planks with waterproof flooring. So in order not to have problems with water, you need to properly care for your vinyl plank flooring. If you spill water, try to remove it as soon as you can. If you have a full-size flood, make sure to undo the planks, dry them out, put them back before anything happens. So proper care is important to maintain your flooring. Flooring is not indestructible, at least I didn't see one yet. And especially if it goes down to vinyl plank flooring. So proper care goes the long way. If you spilled a little bit of tea, try to dry it up. If your pet peed, try to mop it off. Yes, it can stay there like for half an hour, but it's better, the sooner you do the better, the longer it's gonna last. If you have a leak in your washer and dryer, so make sure to remove it, dry it, and only then put everything back in order to take care of any potential problems. Mistake number 5. So difference between click-in vinyl and glue-down vinyl and misusage. So basically click-in vinyl plank flooring has locks where you just click in planks together and you don't use any glue, any nails in order to hold them together. So they're holding just by locking them in. This type of material is normally used in residential homes. Why? Because there's not much traffic, and this system is easy to install, quick to install, easy to replace relatively, and basically it works there. However, if we're talking about the commercial environment, like a shopping mall or office or other places where you have a lot of traffic, the better idea is to use what's called a glue-down vinyl plank flooring. Glue-down vinyl plank flooring is much thinner. It's designed to be glued to the subfloor, as the name means it. And also it doesn't have any locks. So basically you just have like a sheet, if you can say so, that's cut in the form of the plank. So there is no locks on the sides. Click-in, best for residential, low traffic. Glue-down, best for commercial, malls, offices, stores, etc. The common mistake is I've seen people use like glue down in a residential environment. It's possible. You just need to use a lot of adhesive, which most homeowners prefer not to have adhesive during the installation. And second, if you put it on a second floor, you would need to do an extra labor of gluing first the underlayment, because most glue-down vinyl does not have attached underlayment, where almost all click-in has attached underlayment for the soundproofing. And I also seen a problem where people would use click-in in a huge commercial spaces. Click-in has very strict limitation that you can read in the installation manual. For example, you cannot go more than like 30 feet without the transition because it creates too much pressure and just planks are easily damaged. So to avoid this, use each type properly. Click-in, residential homes, glue-down, commercial spaces, especially if it's a huge, big area. And mistake number 6, it's problems with acclimation, expansion, and misusing transitions baseboard. So, do you need to acclimate flooring if it's vinyl plank flooring? If installation manual says you need to, you need to. That's very straightforward, because if you don't, you're gonna break your warranty. What's gonna happen if you're not gonna be acclimating flooring or not leaving expansion gaps? So, vinyl plank flooring, the click-in one, what we call need to breathe. So it expands and contracts depending on the temperature, on the humidity, and many other factors. For this to happen, you need to have expansion gaps so it can expand, contract, and also it needs some time in order to take the proper shape that is relevant to where you are, because the climate somewhere in Kaneohe is going to be completely different to climate in Kapolei. So, do you need acclimation? If installation manual says you need to. Do you need expansion gaps? If installation manual tells you need, please make sure you follow that guidance. Otherwise, you're gonna have problems with your floor really soon. So how much expansion gap do you need? It really depends on the flooring, brand, different requirements, different types of materials. But in general, for the vinyl, it's a 1/4 inch. And also, in order to cover that 1/4 inch gap that you're gonna have everywhere next to a solid surface, make sure to put the baseboard at least 1/2 inch, because you have 1/4 inch on one side, 1/4 inch on another side. Baseboard needs to be at least 1/2 inch if the whole row moves, so you don't have a gap by the baseboard. I've seen small requirements, I've seen high requirements. Depends on the brand, depends on a bunch of other factors, specifically what's written in the installation manual. Also, don't forget to leave space for transition pieces. You can put end caps by the sliding door, transitions by the rooms, under the doors, entrance to the rooms. So make sure to keep all of those, and make sure to put baseboard in order to hold down your floor and also cover the expansion gap that you left on the side. So if you're planning to replace flooring this week, make sure to watch this video again, go through all the steps that we just discussed. So take a look on the type core, take a look on the installation type of installation that you're buying, take a look on the price, take a look on the wear layer. If there is a clearance, make sure to ask why this clearance is going on. Remember about baseboards, transitions, and everything else we discussed in this video. Most important advice, read installation manual. Spend 2 minutes. Even if you're not the one who's installing, still read it, because it's going to give you a lot of information specific to the type of material that you're purchasing. Or you can skip all of this and stop by our store. We have one store in Nimitz, one store in Waipio, and we'll try to explain you everything in details. Just make sure to ask us questions, what you're looking for, what are your needs, how we can help you, and also we'll give you free samples. We'll explain you everything I just told you in person. So 2 stores, one in Waipio, one in Nimitz Center. Hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Boris was with you. Aloha.